All right, guys, let's take a look at adjusting wall heights in Revit model. So starting from the beginning again here, opening up Revit 2025, I want to go to Models, New, go with the Imperial Multidiscipline template here. Just click OK, start a new project. Make sure you do a Save As here and do save your work. Do a Save As. We want to save it as a project. And do make sure you're saving your work sporadically throughout. I know you'll see in the videos here, you'll see the save pop up here, and you'll often see me just move past it because I'm doing a demo video here, but it is really important that you do save sporadically. I actually set my reminder for 15 minutes. That way, even in case I bypass one, I'm saving at least every 30 minutes. It's always really sad to have not been saving and to lose work that you've been putting in the time on. So do make sure to save regularly. Um, all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in some walls here. And we're specifically going to talk about adjusting various heights in Revit and why you might want to be doing that for certain instances and how you would do it. Okay, so we can adjust the heights and also by default, Revit is going to have you draw walls that are 20 feet high and that are not attached to anything. And what I mean by attached is, let me go to a building elevation here. You'll see that this is my wall. You can see that it's not, attached to anything. And you can see when I click on it, my properties for that wall pop up here. It's a generic 8-inch wall. And you can see that there's a base constraint here that is L1. And that L1 coordinates to this level line over here, which is L1. All right, you can see too, when I click on that wall, the top constraint, it says unconnected 20 feet. So there are instances where we're going to leave a wall unconstrained on the top, but for the most part, we want to make sure it's connected to something. So especially for these walls, I want to make sure that it's set to go to level 2. And I'll show you the reason for that, but let's talk about how we do it first. So if I go to this wall here and the top constraint, I'm going to set that to L2. All right, and you'll notice immediately, let me go ahead and tile these windows. Remember, that's a WT shortcut, and then I'm going to do VA for zoom all to get those views and windows set up here. All right, I'm gonna zoom in and I'm gonna go ahead and turn the scope boxes off in here. I know they have them set on by default, but I'm gonna say hide the category, hide in view category. There we go, that cleans it up quite a bit. All right, so you can see that one wall did adjust itself. And this is a setting that you can do. If I do my WA shortcut for wall, get right into the command there. This is something you can set before you draw, but I just want to show you, you can also adjust it afterwards. So before I draw a new wall, I can set that to go up to L2. And now this new wall that I put in here, you can see the height of it. It's in the back there, but you can see the height of it by pan is set to that level. All right, so it's best practice to set it before you start modeling, but if you forget to do that, don't worry, you can always come back and adjust it. So I'm going to go ahead and select the rest of these as well. So I'm just going to hold down, click, and then hold down Control, and you see that little plus sign. Control adds. If I use Shift, you see the negative, that takes away from my selection. So I'll hold down Control. I'm going to keep holding down Control through this, select them all, and then I'm going to come over here and adjust that top constraint to level 2. All right, now one of the main reasons that we want these items to be constrained to that level is if I have a floor to floor height change, and this actually happens quite often in projects, but let's say I'm going from 12 feet to 10 feet. If I change this floor to floor height and my level 2 adjusts and I hit 10 feet, you'll notice that the walls then go with it. All right, so if this went to even up to like 20 feet, those are going to adjust. All right. Versus if I had a wall that was set to unconnected, it's just going to stay on its own. So you do really want to make sure the walls are set to constrain to the level above. Okay. Now, if I have, we'll talk about multi-story in a further along down the line here. But let's talk about adjusting the height constraint just relative to these levels. So a lot of buildings do have like parapet walls. So they have the walls that are going up higher around the exterior perimeter than the interior walls. So in that case, we would want to create an offset from the level 2, right? We still want to make sure it's constrained and attached to it. I'm going to come in here, my 3D view, select all 4 of those walls. Again, holding down that control button to add to my selection. And then I still want my top constraint here to be level 2, but if I had an offset of 4 feet, all right, you can see those walls grew. They're now taller than my interior walls here. And if I look in the elevation, I could use one of my dimensions that we learned about. If I dimension, I can see that is indeed 4 feet. So if this level changes again and it goes up to 20, that 4 foot stays constant. Okay, so that's what we want. We want it to be relative and always have those walls set to a top constraint. All right, similarly, if you have something, maybe you have an open doorway or something like that, and you want to adjust it the other direction, let's go ahead and we can use our split tool. And let's say I have an entranceway, and maybe I have, let's go with, oh, that was just the one split. Let's do another split here. And maybe I have here in my wall, shortcut WA for that. You know, maybe there's a little entrance here, little, okay, and that this isn't as tall. So I can also set an offset from level 1. All right, so remember the base is here at level 1. So if I create an offset, and let's take a look, have the 3D view up too here. If I do an offset here and say 8 feet, it's going to bring up the bottom of that wall 8 feet as an offset. And then I could also use my trim command to clean that up. So if I click here and I'll pull that wall back, and then I should have done that in 3D for this one because I can't see it in there anymore. And I'm going to say that's okay. But if those are, you know, right on the edge, then you could bring those back. Let's try the other side here using that trim command. And those are just having a little bit of tough time. Whoops, that's the wrong shortcut there. Joining, but we can always fix that with our join command here. Where is that one? There we go, staring right at me. I can click and join those two together to get rid of those lines. There we go. So now we have a nice, you know, an opening here. All right, so that's all just using the constraints of the base and the top and creating offsets. And you know, similar to going above it, if this one needed to go below level 2, you know, I can create a negative offset on that as well. So it's just all relative to what you're building and modeling. But just keep it in mind as you're modeling to try to always have your walls set to levels and then use the offsets to adjust the various heights. All right, and you also, you know, even for interiors, you might have something, let's see here, like a partial height wall. So that would be something you could do. I just use that shortcut WA for my wall command. And so if I had, let's see, something that was going to be, you can see the unconnected height right here too. So if it's at level 2, but I want it to be a 4-foot high wall, and this would be something actually, if you know it's always going to be a 4-foot high wall, you could unconstrain it and then just set it to 4 feet. And then you can draw, you know, a little pony wall in like that. So that would then be static. If that level 2 changes, it would not go up and down, which in this case is what you would want because you want that wall to always be 4 feet high.